What's up, everybody? Welcome into the PHNX Suns podcast, the back half of this one. I'm Lindsay, that's Saul, that's Gerald, that's Espo. And at Summer League, we were able to catch up with Ben Golliver, a national NBA writer at the Washington Post. And he had some interesting things to say about the Suns.
Espo here with Ben Golliver, the Washington Post. Ben, how are you? How's Summer League going for you?
I'm still alive 4 days in. That's really what matters the most. Had a really good time this week. I feel like they just loaded it up with so many extra events, like my head's kind of spinning. And really more than anything, it's about Wemby, right? Oh. So, it was nice to see him shake off that kind of slow debut and have a nice game on Sundays.
Yeah, for Suns fans, it's all about Toumani Camara, not Wemby. But obviously, the Suns had a pretty big offseason, acquiring Bradley Beal, making the moves that they did with their bench. What's your initial thought when you look at the Phoenix Suns this year?
Well, look, Matt Ishbia has quickly risen to the very top of the most aggressive owners in the entire NBA list. I mean, I think Steve Ballmer has kind of set that tone, I would say, over these last 5 years. And it feels like Ishbia is kind of elbowing in and saying, hey, man, I want a little bit of that action. I love the Kevin Durant trade for them. There's a risk involved with trading for Kevin Durant at this stage of his career, but the idea you're going to get a happy, motivated Kevin Durant who fits so well with Devin Booker made all the sense in the world. You could tell from the playoffs, Chris had to go, and eventually probably Deandre Ayton is going to have to go as well. I was glad that they sorted the Chris thing first because it was really able for them to move on, have a new identity, and then go out there and take a big swing on Bradley Beal. There's a lot of risk involved here. I mean, they got three stars who are complementary but not totally distinct. They have some overlapping skills, and sometimes that creates a little bit of tension. So I want to see how it plays out on the court. But you're looking at the most potent scoring trio in the entire league, and that's a great place to start with your roster. I would love to see an Ayton trade for a little bit of depth. I know that's not exactly an original take. I think a lot of people down there in the Valley probably feel the same way. But it's not like it's a bad problem to have a center who's a double-double every single night who's going to show up and eat up a lot of minutes. So they're in a great spot. I think you have to look at them. I mean, in that, I put Denver in its own tier out of just respect for winning the title, although I think they came back to earth a little bit. I would put Phoenix right there in that second tier.
Do you think big threes can work in this new second apron world and everything? Or is this too much mortgaging the future for the right now?
I think in general for the average organization, a big two is going to be the best model. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough depth. You're not going to have enough offense and defense balance to make it work. Now, if you're dealing with Ishbia's bankroll, you're dealing with Steve Ballmer's bankroll or Joe Lacup's bankroll, a big three can work. We just saw a big three work for Golden State 2 years ago, by the way, with Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. That's a big three. They just won a title, and they're bringing all three of those guys back to try to do it again. I think anyone who's saying you can't win with the big three is foolish, because look what Golden State is trying to do. They're one of the smartest organizations in the league with a very forward-thinking ownership group and front office, and that's still their plan. Now, if we progress a year, 2, 3 years down the road into this new collective bargaining agreement, it's probably going to get tougher and tougher, and at that point, you might have to pivot.
When you look at the Suns lineup, obviously no traditional point guard. You hear a lot of positionless basketball talk. Do you think that's going to hurt them when it comes playoff time and things slow down in that half-court game?
Well, I would be playing Campaign a lot, personally. I mean, I understand that he might not be this, pure pass-first point guard, but I think he is probably the best distributor on the team. I know people love point book as well. I like that look, but more because it's fun as opposed to I think it's the best way for them to play. I think they're better off having that extra ball handler, going smaller, spacing the court as much as possible. I really like that look for them. I think, when you look back at the postseason, once Chris got hurt, you saw the new identity come together, right? It was push the pace. It was KD and Book really just scoring at will, taking any shot that they wanted, and it was incredibly efficient offense. The only reason they lost is because they ran into an opponent in Denver who could keep up offensively and also had the tools defense-wise to be able to slow them down just enough to get over the hump. How many teams around the league have the offensive firepower to keep up with Phoenix, and how many have the coaching and the strategy to be able to dictate style and tempo against the Suns? Not very many, right? It's going to be a pretty short list, and that really just speaks to Booker's talent level, KD's talent level. So I'm not super worried about the point guard position, but I do think it's in their best interest to play smaller, space as much as possible, and then just let Book cook. It's a pretty simple formula.
Last one for you. In Phoenix, everybody's talking about the Suns maximizing the minimum to build up the bench. When you look at what they've done on that front, how do you feel about their depth?
Well, I'm one of these guys who's always pretty cynical when it comes to the minimum salary guys. You got to prove it to me. I think it was a very nice move to get Eric Gordon. The Clippers fans were really sad to lose him. That's always a good sign. When you've got like a divisional opponent, a team that you just faced in the playoffs who are like sweating the loss, and you're just adding him for a bargain basement price to your books, I think that's a major net win for a team like Phoenix. Now, some of these other players, like they've got to really craft reputations. It's one thing to play roles for, say, the San Antonio Spurs last year and make a name for yourself and get yourself on the map. It's a whole different thing to get thrown into Game 4 against the Denver Nuggets in the second round or the third round of the playoffs and actually be expected to produce. One thing we also know, KD doesn't like coming off the court. Book doesn't like coming off the court. And I can promise you, Bradley Beal's been waiting 5 years to get back into the playoffs, probably maybe even longer than that. He's not going to want to come off the court either. So I don't panic about the depth of Phoenix as much as some people do, because once they get to the postseason, those guys are going to be playing 41, 42 minutes. And I think that's going to be true even with Frank Vogel, just like it was with Monty Williams.
Well, check him out. He's Ben Golliver of the Washington Post. Wrote a great book called Bubble Ball as well. Hit that up, Ben. Thanks for the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. Take care.
So some interesting stuff from Ben there. I think the first one was that he still is of the mindset that Deandre Ayton will have to eventually not be on this team.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's kind of where we entered the offseason, thinking that the Suns needed to orchestrate a DA trade, so it makes sense that a lot of national people think the same way. And I think a lot of us have talked ourselves into hopefully Vogel can get through to him, and we're riding with that. And hopefully that is the case because, like we've said, in terms of starting centers who could fit really well with this team, DA's at the top of the list when he's fully engaged. But it is, if things don't go well these first couple of months, we're going to be circling right back to the trade DA talk. So
it's not going to happen, Gerald. Don't worry.
Hopefully it doesn't.
New season, new DA, new coach, new DA. We're good.
Shoes.
We're good.
New DA.
We're good.
Look, yeah, I mean, he's the only option in the end that you could move if you have to, if there is some kind of panic moment throughout this season. So I get that that's a name Ben gravitates to, but that was probably one of the more favorable national opinions I've heard when it comes to the Suns. So
I think he touched on something as far as the optimism in regards to Bradley Beal. Rachel Nichols brought it up. A couple of national people brought it up in Summer League. Like, this guy's been waiting years to get back to playing meaningful basketball. It's what he said at the press conference. So they're excited for that. Obviously, the campaign take does not look good a week later because he's no longer here. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying about I'm surprised that they moved off one of their last remaining ball handlers. Like, we've talked about the positionless basketball and whatnot, but it is interesting that they just kind of dumped him for nothing.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, too, like he said, when it comes to the playoffs, Book, KD, Beal, they're all going to be on the court playing heavy minutes. They'll carry majority of that load. Yeah. So in theory, and what we're going to run with until proven otherwise, or at least I am, because I'm trying to remain optimistic, that it won't be an issue come playoff time, because they'll have an entire regular season to figure it out, to gel, to master it. And then those three will lead us to a deep, deep playoff run. That's what I'm going with. I did like, though, that he, I know that there's still hesitation, right? You don't want to completely pass judgment on the guys that the Suns were able to pick up using the vet minimum, but that there's at least some optimism, it felt like there.
A little bit.
It might have been like a small amount, but I'm gonna grab onto it again, like I said, regardless.
He did say, like, and that's something that was also common in Vegas, was this idea that veteran minimum guys sign for the vet minimum for a reason. I think that's fair in most cases, but I was surprised that they got Gordon, that they got KBD for vet minimums. I think those guys extend a little bit beyond that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd even argue Yuta does too. I think when you look at this wasn't your typical, I'm signing a bunch of ring chasers who are 35, 36, 37. This was, who are some young guys that we can sign to a vet minimum and maybe get them to go well beyond their ceiling because they're going to get an opportunity playing with a very good team. I like that strategy, and to your point, I don't think this is the same vet minimum that you usually see elsewhere. Now, to be fair, one or two of these guys probably isn't going to work out. That's the reality of doing this, but that's all right. I think everybody is very high in general on what they've done, but the odds are one or two of these guys probably doesn't pan out the way that you'd hope, but I think they've done enough where that's okay if that happens.
And there's flexibility if that does happen.
Yeah, for every minimum guy that might not work out, there's also a guy out there in the league that's getting wildly overpaid. So you can sit there and be like, well, these guys signed for minimums for a reason. Well, I know a dude that's making $10 million a year that should be getting the minimum, right? Like that's just how it is. So we move on. If 3 or 4 of these guys don't work out, but the other ones do, I'm going to be happy because you still have depth 7, 8, 9 deep. You're okay. We have a 15-person roster, so we'll be all right. I think we have way more depth than we do last year. And if you don't realize that, it's because you didn't watch this team play last year. On paper, some of these guys, like Landry Shamet, when you look at the stats, they're not bad. They're not like terrible. Like you would be like, oh, well, that's a good shooter. And then you watch him play, and it was wildly inconsistent, and it's a different story. If you don't watch this team play, you don't understand the deficiencies that they truly had on a day-to-day basis. And what the main part was just the inconsistency. And I think they have shored that up to a certain degree this year. And if it's just marginally better, that's a long, long way from where they were a year ago. And then you add Bradley Beal to the mix, who's going to be able to score at a higher clip than Chris Paul was, and you hope that that's enough to overcome the Nuggets, and I think it is.
Yeah, you just hope for more consistency from the bench. I mean, we saw it. Torrey Craig, a great example. There were stretches where he was very good and very helpful in the starting lineup. Then there were stretches he disappeared. Okogie, Damian Lee, these guys all went through those, so you hope that the bench is just more consistent this season, and that should help in and of itself.
I don't know about you guys, but on my social media, I have only been engaging with fall content for the last week because I am trying to get us to the fall as quickly as possible so that we can actually see how this all plays out. But also because I'm really tired of 115-degree days.
We broke the record twice today.
So we need to stay inside and prepare for fall, right? I don't think you should be golfing right now in Phoenix personally, but it doesn't mean that you can't step up your golf looks to prepare for when you should be back outside golfing in Phoenix. And you can get the coolest gear at Pins and Aces. They are the official golf apparel partner of PHNX and ALLCITY. They make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, even some amazing beer sleeves, like super innovative products over there. So make sure you guys check them out at pinsandaces.com and use code PHNX to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. Again, that is pinsandaces.com and the code is PHNX. If you do have to go outside though, don't go outside without your trusted pair of Shady Rays. We're talking about sunglasses that are built to last. Shady Rays also offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by a lost and broken replacement. So if you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. They have your back long after you purchase. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Also, they just put out their brand new golf line, which gives you peripheral vision to the side too. So it's more of a wraparound, but it still looks like the classic like shade. So it's they just dropped that actually I think yesterday or 2 days ago. So you should definitely check them out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Listen, we're just preparing you guys for your golf game. We're trying to get you guys looking good so you can play good, right? Isn't that how that works?
Yep.
If you look good, you play good, right? That's the rules.
I must never look good on the golf course.
That's tough.
All right. Finally, to round out today's show, we did get a look at some new shoes from One Phoenix Sun. Deandre Ayton released a brand new pair of PEs. And honestly, I really like these shoes. They represent the Bahamas, of course, and then Jamaica as well. His mother is part Jamaican, so that's where that kind of heritage comes into play. I like these shoes. What do you guys think?
I like them a lot too. My only beef is I understand the different colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, because one
That's
is more
fine.
tealish blue, one is more green for both flags.
I would have bought both pairs if I just got the same color in both. You know what I mean? Like that was just my I wish they would have at least given you that option. But I absolutely like these. I like the style. I actually went to the Puma site today. Man, I did not realize how many good-looking shoes that they have across their brand. Like, I might have to indulge in a couple of these pairs.
So is it with each one, the left one is teal and the right one is green,
Yep.
so you can't like mix and match?
Nope.
I mean, that would be nice if you could.
Because then you could
Then
buy
you
two
could get
pairs and then
3
just
pairs of shoes
Yeah.
basically
Swap
for
them
the
boxes.
price of one.
But
Yeah.
Or 2, I mean.
no, I mean I like you said, I like the thought behind it and his mother's heritage coming into play. Obviously, DA and his mom are very close in some of the charitable work that they've done together as well here in Phoenix. But the look of the two different colors, that's something that as a type A person, I'm like, I don't know if I could pull
Gerald,
that
you're
off.
type A?
A little bit. A little bit, yes.
What I love, we're showing this video here, but if you go watch it on Puma's social and hear DA talk, it's really clear how much he cares about his mom, his family. I think it gives you a little bit of insight into this guy and his mindset. He's talking about family and that love of family and how much support from family means. And if you project that on the basketball court, that's your basketball family too, and needing that support and those kind of things. I found it very interesting to just hear him talk like that and not be somewhat guarded. Like I think sometimes, you know, he feels like he has to give a certain kind of answer.
Well, you know, that's the thing that man, we've talked about this at length before as well. It's like, you know, when DA comes out and he speaks openly and freely and he's fun and he's engaging, and then he doesn't produce on the court, people think one thing leads to the other, and then they start to bury the guy for him just being who he is. And I'm just never going to do that. I will never do that. I will never bury a guy for being who he is and being true to himself. And I think from at least my perspective, every time I've ever seen DA or engaged with DA, he is who he is. Like he doesn't try to change who he is to try and fit your narrative of what you think a number one pick should be. And I appreciate that. And when he talks about his family, he's very passionate about that. He's also passionate about charity endeavors. We just never get to hear from him very often outside of basketball, for a variety of different reasons. And I would assume that one of them is because of how many times people have shit on him for being who he is. And I think DA should do more of this kind of stuff because I think people would really invest in him a little bit more than they do. Because I really enjoyed the 1 minute that I saw of this commercial, and you get to learn more about his family, you know, how much they meet. I mean, hell, he equated being around his family as in terms of like Superman going to the sun to re-energize his powers, which I thought was like, okay.
He's just so silly.
It's
I
silly,
love it.
right? But I love it. And if you've ever been, there's not a single person on this panel that has ever been around DA and been like, oh, he's not a good person. No, he's a genuinely good dude, and he really he does love basketball and he does love his family. It just doesn't always translate on the court, and that frustrates you. And I get that, but I'm just never going to bury him as an individual because he's a tremendous person.
And honestly, I thought it was so cute too in that video how his mom was like, he gets his heart from me. But it's so true though. If you've ever met his mom, you love his mom. Like you want to talk about a sweet baby angel.
Yeah.
DA's mom is a sweet baby angel.
Well, and DA today donated a bunch of money to Junior Achievement in the Bahamas too, because he said he wanted to show kids that there's more ways to success than just basketball there. And I thought that was a cool thing to go about as well.
Okay, can we just go back real quick to the color? Because I know you guys were talking about 2 different colors or whatever, but I feel like they're so complementary to one another that it's not like Javon Carter wearing one orange and one purple shoe. It's like they're so close in like tones and everything that I feel like it works.
You gotta, man, this is a hard outfit to figure out what to wear with, unless you're gonna wear black.
Yeah.
You know, like
you
you gotta
can
have
wear
some
it
pops
with
of
all
gold.
black, or you could wear it with gold. You could wear it with one
not
or
that
the
much
other
gold.
color.
I mean, yeah, who has a lot of gold in their repertoire.
I don't got like gold shorts.
Like
that I
gold
love.
accessories. Like you could do all
Drake,
black with
maybe?
gold accessories.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's hard
I'm
to
just
pull that off
saying,
on
I
a
think
day-to-day
you guys
basis.
I think you're underestimating how many things you could rock with this.
I'm not underestimating
are.
it. I mean, I have the
I
best
think
shoe game in
you-
the company. Like, I know
Now,
what to
pause.
accessorize. I don't.
I just don't wear mine anymore.
Well,
but
that's
no, I
on
have
you.
better shoes than you saw.
No,
But-
you do not.
100%.
Lindsay would
100%
just wear
don't.
all black with those shoes, and it would work.
And
See?
it works every time, does it not?
No, I'm not.
If you don't know
I'm
what
not
to wear with
denying.
shoes, just put on all black and you're good to go.
You go monochromatic,
And then you
have
can
the
add it
colorful
from there. And
shoes.
monochromatic is in right now.
I'm not trying to wear all black in 116 degree
You'll
weather.
be fine. Just stay inside.
Just wear a bucket.
It
hat.
doesn't. Hold on. It doesn't matter what color you wear at 116 degrees.
This is
It's
fact.
just hot.
It's not making a difference. The one positive of wearing black in 115 degrees is if you do sweat, nobody will be able to tell.
Sure.
But if you wear gray, everyone will know.
Well, that's true.
So don't wear gray
That
is
is
the moral
true.
of the story in 115 degrees. Anyway, we did get a super chat to round out the show. Thank you, Devin. We appreciate you sending us $10. Said the irony of y'all cutting out twice after a rant about digital over traditional media is hilarious. But I love the forward-thinking mindset and always appreciate the free Daily Suns content.
Thank you,
I
Devin.
mean, you're not wrong, Devin. It's kind of funny.
No comment.
Shit happens. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us for this podcast. We appreciate you. Those of you who popped in twice and 3 times, we appreciate you the most. If you are here on YouTube, make sure you hit that thumbs up on your way out. If you are listening wherever you get your podcast, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe because it helps us out a lot and it's absolutely free. We will see you guys tomorrow. And until then, you can follow the show on Twitter at PHNX_Suns. You can follow me at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. And of course, you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Sometimes you need to remember that mistakes happen, and it's okay to let it go. Ahoy, hoy.
Tell the Phoenix Metro, Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsay, Gerald, Espo. Saw past the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me.